got to stay consistent with your 80-20. You have to stay consistent with that rule. That's the key to long-term success. Consistency. Again, if you listen to the podcast, go back. 3 C's we talked about: consistency, community, and content.
Welcome to the Solopreneurs Chronicles podcast, the show where solopreneurs like you learn how to ignite, ascend, and empower a one-person business that works for you, not the other way around. Each week, your host, Anthony Porter, will bring you actionable strategies, real-life stories, and expert insights to help you attract clients, create consistent content, and turn your passion into profit. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, this is your go-to resource for making big things happen on your own terms. If you're ready to ditch the overwhelm and build a business that fits your life, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's dive in.
Hey, what's going on, solopreneurs? Welcome back to the Solopreneur Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Anthony Porter. And today is the day that we take a dive into what we seem to want to say is one of the most game-changing principles for solopreneurs. Now, when you're feeling overwhelmed, this right here could change the outcome, the outlook of your business, your podcast, whatever it is that you're doing. This could change that to-do list. And that is you see, when you're starting, just like when I first started, when you're starting out in your business, sometimes it feels like that you're out of control. You're running in circles. You're spinning your wheels. You're stuck in quicksand. Now, for me, I was trying to do everything. I'm not going to lie to you. I was trying to be the CEO. I was trying to be the marketer. I was trying to do affiliate marketing. I was trying to do everything. See, I was making sure that everything was going right when everything was truly going wrong. See, I was all over the place. I was answering every single email, posted every piece of content I could think of on every social media platform. I was building the graphics through Canva because I was trying to be the graphic designer that was building websites. I was trying to do everything. And guess what? None of what I was doing moved the freaking needle. None of it. I was stuck. I was literally to the point to where I was just like, oh man, this entrepreneur crap ain't for me. But then I stumbled on Pareto Principle, or what some people out here would call the 80-20 rule. And that changed the way I did business. That changed the way I did everything in my lifespan. That changed a whole lot of stuff. So when you talk about Pareto's rule, or what we call the 80-20 rule, here's what I'm going to need you to do, because we're going to get into it today. We're going to break it down to its very last compound. We're going to talk about what is the 80-20 rule. We're going to talk about how to identify your most impactful work. Yeah. We're going to talk about how to consistently focus on the tasks that actually deliver results. They drive them. I mean, you got to focus on the task that makes everything in your business, in your podcast, in your life work out for you and your ideal clients. So by the end of this episode, I promise you, by the end of this episode, you will have a clear roadmap. And that roadmap will cut out all the fluff and get laser focused on what truly matters when it comes to your solopreneur journey. Now, if you're ready to take that leap, if you're ready to strap on that parachute, if you're ready to take and do what you need to do, then let's jump in head first. But as usual, I'm going to say this in the beginning. If you heard something that you like, subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Leave us a review on either Apple or you leave us a review on Spotify or your favorite streaming platform. And also what we tell you to do over here, because we want you to get comfortable for these next few minutes, and we want you to grab you something to drink. Sip of water, beverage, brewski, Jack and Coke, Uncle Nurse, Tequila Sunrise. It doesn't make a difference. Grab something, but you make sure you got a pen and a pad. Now, if you're going to write this down and you can comprehend how to write while you're sipping on a little adult beverage, then you're fine. But if you can't and you under the age of 21, here's what I need you to do. Grab some water or soda or some juice. Grab your pen and a pad and get these notes done so you can take your business to the next level. So let's jump into it. There has been question after question. And one of the main questions that has been asked when it comes to business is, what is the 80-20 rule? Now, I know some of you might not have ever heard of it, and that's fine. We are here to help. So what is the 80 rule? Simply put, it states that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. Now, I know that sounds simple, but here's the kicker. Most solopreneurs, myself included, most of us spend way too much time on the 80% of the activities and not the other portion that deliver the results. So we spend 80% of our time on activities that don't do crap. Think about it. We're spending hours tweaking a website, trying to master a social media platform. Basically, what you're doing is you're spreading yourself super thin. The key to finding that 20% is simple. You want to find the 20% that creates the biggest impact and then double down on it. So again, you want to create and find the 20% and then double down on the biggest impact of your business. That 20% is what drives your business. So you want to create that and double down on it. Now, if you notice, I said it a few times because I want it to stick. I want you to make sure you write that down. We focus on 80% of the business that does nothing for us. So we need to find the 20% that will be the most impactful and then double down on that. So another situation that we need to talk about is, how do we identify the 20%? How do you identify the 20%? Start with an audit. That's what you do. You start with an audit. You look at your income. You look at your clients, you look at your products, you look at your services. These are the things that are most responsible for the revenue that you bring in. So you take a look at that. If you're on social media, again, remember we talked about spreading ourselves thin, right? If you're on social media, then you need to look at the platform that brings in the most leads and the most engagement. Now, remember, for most of you who are doing podcasts, you should know this. If not, if you're new to this and you're trying to get a grasp on it and you don't do social media, here's what you got to understand. There's 5 major platforms when it comes to social media. Now, platform number 1, of course, is Instagram, Facebook, which that's 2. So the Meta companies is 2 at the top. And then you have the other 2 that are major. You have Google, which is YouTube. And then you have like TikTok. You have Instagram. I said that, right? Yeah. Okay, so you have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch. So that's 6 of them. Now, each one of these platforms is different in their own way on how you get these leads. But what you have to understand is, and if you've been around and you've heard me say this, focus on the ones. See, we focus on one platform. We're not worried about our 5. Now, we repurpose on our 5, but we focus on one platform. And see, for me, it's Instagram. Not only is it Instagram, but it's Instagram stories. A lot of my content that I use, the 20% comes from my Instagram stories. It's where I concentrate with my audience. It's where I connect with my audience. It's where I focus with my audience. I share value, and I convert those followers into clients. See, you can post reels, and see, here's my strategy. I post reels, but then I also give educational content on my stories. That's where I focus my energy. And my results have been incredible over 3 to 4 separate platforms. See, every business that I run, I have an Instagram page for. I don't want to cross and mix up the algorithms. So everyone, Amplified Digital, Social Mojo, Empire Promotional, Solopreneur Chronicles. Each business has its own platform, and I use Instagram for each one of them. So by me using Instagram, it's making it a whole lot easier for me to focus and dive. And when I come up with one strategy, I use it on each one. So I say that to say this. I've always talked about using or following the method of 5, the 5 ones. That is, I choose one target audience. I have one traffic source. I have one offer on one platform, and my focus is for 1 year. That's the starting path to $1 million. Excuse me. That's the starting path to $1 million. So like I said, the 20% that I go through, this 20% that I focus on, that drives my business is Instagram. I focus on Instagram. My podcast is promoted on Instagram. Though I promote on other platforms, I mainly focus on the gram. Now, section number 3. We need to talk about eliminating and delegating the 80%. This is the hard part for most people, because if you're a solopreneur, you're a one-person business, right? So you listen, I tell people this, I tell friends and clients and students, basically I tell anyone who listens, When you start your business, nobody knows how to run your business but you. Nobody knows what your dream is. So it's hard for you to tell somebody how to run your business, right? It's hard for you to let something go that you've taken pride to build on. But you got to do that. And sometimes it takes for you to sit back, humble yourself, and learn how to say no. You got to learn how to say no. You can consume a whole lot and be overwhelmed, and it'll be the biggest burnout that you ever run into. So you got to learn how to say no. But you have to learn how to say no to those things that do not align with your priorities. For example, I know how to graphic design, but I'll outsource some graphic design in a heartbeat. It's too time consuming. Shout out to the people who do graphic design, man. They do excellent work. I actually need to reach out to a couple of graphic designers from Instagram because guess what? I need a new logo. I need some gear design. I need something designed for the gear. I want to take my look to a more casual persona, but still keep it professional. So I want a lot of things to change, but I want a lot of things. I want to connect with my solopreneur target audience. But I want my target audience to feel connected to me. So graphic design is one of the main things that I will outsource. I just won't do it. I can't, and then I stopped overthinking and obsessing over the perfect captions on every platform. Listen, man, you're not going to have the perfect caption. And then you got to understand this. Sometimes people don't read them. They see the content and be like, ooh, that's dope. What's the caption say? 99% of us put the in the caption to use a keyword, and that keyword is to help you get to this point. But guess what? 95% of the people ain't reading it. Why? Because they see that your content, if your content is good, they see the content. They don't understand because why? We don't have a call to action. So you got to fix that. So instead, I just automate posts and focus on engagement where it truly matters. And when I say where it truly matters, I mean where it matters the most. So make sure you write that down, man. And here's why, let me before we go any further, let me say this. This is why I tell you need to subscribe to the podcast. Because sometimes you don't write down stuff. So what you need to do is subscribe and download it. You have the information. You can always go back and listen to it. Put your headphones on. You can rock out. Some people don't like to listen to it in the gym. I listen to podcasts in the gym. Takes that workout to another level because you hear something, you get excited. You're like, ooh, I need to hurry up and get finished, but I need to pump this weight and pause, you know what I'm saying? And get up out of here. I need to implement that. I'm an action taker. I ain't a tire kicker. Now, also we need to talk about something else. My sections my deliverance sections is very small. So we're in section number 4, right? You got to stay consistent with your 80-20. You have to stay consistent with that rule. That's the key to long-term success. Consistency. Again, if you listen to the podcast, go back. 3 C's we talked about: consistency, community, and content. Set aside a monthly reevaluation process to take a look at your priorities. Make sure you're right on task, man. You got to sit back, listen. People say, if you're talking to yourself, you're crazy, right? If you're a solopreneur, you got to ask yourself, what's working? And then you better be able to answer what's not working. So that's the key, man. You got to be able to talk to yourself. You got to be able to say, okay, what's working, what's not. And remember, the 80-20 rule isn't a one-time fix. It's a mindset shift. See, every time you're in business, every single day, it's an 80-20 rule. If you do the 80-20 rule on Monday at 5 o'clock in the morning, you best be doing the 80-20 rule on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then 8 o'clock at night. And then so forth and so on, because guess what? Every single day. This should be part of your standard operating procedures. The 80-20 rule should be a part of everyday life. You got to do it. You have to. So what have we talked about so far? We talked about what is the 80-20 rule. We talked about identifying your 20%. We talked about eliminating and delegating your 80%. We talked about staying consistent with this side of the rule, this side of the 80-20 rule, right? So if we're doing all of that, then what's next? Last but not least, but then that section is you got to think about you got to overcome your challenges. Now we're going to sit back and address that elephant in the room. We're going to talk about the FOMO. I know you're like, well, Coach P, what's the FOMO? FOMO is fear of missing out. It's very tempting to think that you need to do it all. But in reality, in the perfect world, that's the thought process, right? Wrong. Trust me, by focusing on the essentials, you're going to get further even faster. So that's how we break down the 80-20, right? Those 5 sections. We know what it is. We know how to identify the 20. We know how to eliminate and delegate the 80%. We know what it means to stay consistent. And then we know how to overcome the challenges. Because see, overcoming those challenges makes it a whole lot easier. You don't have to do everything. Remember, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. A lot of people listen. Some people tell you, we make you $1 million in 30 days. Yeah, right. Check the social wire. Somebody said they made $1 million in an hour. We ain't gonna go into that, but let's just say, Shout is doing time right now. All right, Shout is doing time. So we're at the point of the segment that I want to do. I'll give you some quick action thoughts, some tips that help you get through, and I got 5 of them. 5 quick tips to help you apply your 80-20 rule, starting out while you are either listening to this podcast, when you get home from work, when you are sitting down with the family, whatever you're doing, these tips is going to help you. Number 1, tip 1 for the whole time is audit your time weekly and track your hours. You should have a tracking system. Sounds like a plan. Just audit your time. Throughout the day, when you're working on something, jot it down. Implement it. And see when it worked, what it worked, and how it worked. See, I'm going to tell you something. So, a lot of people have strategies on when to post on social media, right? I heard one of the coolest strategies come from a guy who I've been watching for a long time, Nehemiah Davis. Follow my man's. My man's has done great work. He's shown how you can go from zero to hero. And I'm not calling him a zero. I'm telling you his story. His story resonates with a lot of people. See, my story can't resonate with that because I've worked 28 years. In the economy, I'm about to retire, but I'm not going back to work. Work for myself. Been doing it for the last 3 to 5 years. This has been my investment bank. Learned that from Nehemiah just as well. Now, what he's done is he's used, like some people tell you, post in the morning and post in the evening. Nehemiah, when he's got a product that he is suggesting, guess what he does? He posts from midnight to 7 in the morning. He uses the infomercial tactic. Some of y'all are up. Some of y'all watching TV. When you see that happening, you know the infomercial tactic. All right. So audit your time. Track your hours and move on. All right. Now, number 2, focus on your marketing channels that bring you the most results. If it's Instagram, focus on it. Focus on one. Don't beat around the bush. Focus on one platform. Whichever one. It can be any one of them. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Google, whatever. Focus on the one. Okay. Number 3, spend more time nurturing your clients and your customers. It means get to know your community. Build a community and get to know them. Don't build a community and never show up in it. Build a community, get to know your community, and go from there. All right. Number 4, limit your distractions by setting a strict boundary on your emailing and your social media and your family. Yes, set the boundaries. When it's time to work, let your family know. Set aside a time during the week. Like I have a weekly schedule of when I'm going to post. Let me see. I got blog posts. I need to work on a blog. It's on my board. Finish up my social media. I got that taken care of. The website is up and running, but guess what? I still need to add some things. So I have a day set out to work just on the website. The podcast is being shot on a Tuesday. It posts on Monday, so the next episode gets shot the following day. That way I have all the way from Tuesday. Wednesday, I edit and post content. Thursday, same thing. Friday, I see what's going on. I post another episode because I have the voice, the Kicker's Corner. The Solopreneur Chronicles voice. That's where we focus strictly on marketing. All right. I have a strict schedule, but I still take time out for the family. And then last but not least, use the analytics to track your progress and pivot when necessary. So basically what you need to do is you need to understand this. When you are doing your podcast or when you are working on your business, no matter what it is, see what's working. Check the insights on Instagram. See who's looking, what time they looking. That could also help you understand when to post, what looks good, and what they like. See, some days I'll look at the numbers and be like, ooh, that's nice. So they like that type of content? All right, let me write that down. And then we go from there. All right. So you got that understood? All right, real quick. Chronicles entry. This is a huge part of the podcast because it tells you a little bit behind me. So let me share a quick story from my own journey, right? Months ago, I was jiggling everything. I had my Amplified Digital Academy going. Podcast was rebranding. Trying to write a newsletter. Trying to do a blog. Trying to shoot content. Trying to do everything, right? But I sat back, took a couple of days off, and I had to refocus. Because I love to talk, the gift of gab is me being on this microphone. If you think I'm lying, I'm dying, right? Check it out. Me and a good friend of mine used to have a group called the Spliff. It's D-A, the Spliff, S-P-L-I-P-H. We dropped the album a while ago. Both of us, we did okay. We didn't get the mainstream that we wanted, but we did all right. We did a little shows here and there. He now runs an online radio station doing very well. I have the Social Chronicles podcast. Our DJ runs a record label on the East Coast. Basically what I'm saying is we all took different paths, but we all stay focused. The two MCs in the group, both are still on the mic, but we're doing it in a different way. I say it again. Both of us are on the mic, but we're doing it in a different way. See, if you don't understand hip hop has always been the ghetto report to the hood. We knew what was going on in New York through hip hop. And the funny thing is, when Jeezy came out, Jeezy let you know when prices was changing in the game. Now, I'm not trying to say the man was, by any chance, hustler. I don't know the man like that. I'm telling you what I used to listen to. If you ever listen to a Jeezy album, he used to tell you 13.5. Then it went from 13.5 to 17.5. Then it went from 17.5 to 18.5. I'm not auctioning it off nothing. I'm telling you what the man's music was telling you. So when we heard that in the city, we felt like we was in his city because it was the same thing going on here. The news report was just spread worldwide. But what was eating up was I was focused on everything else and not what I needed to focus on. I needed to focus on the podcast. I was trying to do everything else, and I failed miserably. So I sat back, took a reboot, got in the gym, sweated it out. And by the time I got through sweating it out, it was on and popping. It was on. We was back up and running, and I'm telling you, the Solopreneur Chronicles podcast has gone. My focus is super laser. We are here to help build one-person businesses through the podcast. We want you to have that 6 to 7 figure lifestyle that you dream of. We're going to give you all the actionable tips over here. No fluff, no BS. We don't gatekeep. All right? We're not gatekeeping. Now, what really set me off with my podcast is I started following David Shane, excuse me. Once I followed him, took his masterclass, I didn't look back. Every little small piece of change that I get, I invest into my company. Because I'm going to be the best. If not, I'm already the best podcaster for business in the city of Louisville. So, understand what I'm saying. My journey and what we just talked about, the 80-20 rule, I had to flip that and focus on the 20% that was working. The podcast is where it's at. My platform that I'm using, besides my podcast, I focus on Instagram. I got one offer. One. I'm targeting solopreneurs who want to podcast and use their podcast for their business. I'm doing it for a year. This is after everything else. I made change, but I didn't make the change that I felt like I should have made. So I had to drop back and refocus. See, this is, again, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Now we got that out of the way. Let's recap. 80-20%, the 80-20 rule helps you focus on the 20% of the tasks that drive 80% of the results. So basically what it is the 20% of what works helps the 80% look better than what it is. It's like when people go get their hair cut, they get dolled up. That's what we're talking about. All right. So by identifying those tasks, eliminating the rest, and staying consistent, I'm telling you, you can create a massive growth in your business. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this. Listen, I hope you really took heart or took heed to what I was saying. Because if you did, subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Music. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel is going to be adding some very interesting work tips throughout YouTube. Man, don't forget to go visit us over on solopreneurchroniclespodcast.com for more tips and some of those resources. Some of the ones that you might not be able to get. You feel me? And hey, again, if this episode helped you, share it with your fellow solopreneurs. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend, so we can get this budding community going and start generating that generational wealth that we need to get. All right. Until next time, keep on focusing on what matters and building your business of your dreams so you can have that 6 to 7 figure lifestyle that you dream about. All right, man. It's your boy Anthony Porter over here, the Solopreneur Chronicles podcast. We out of here. See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to the Solopreneurs Chronicles podcast. I hope today's episode gave you the insights and inspiration you need to take the next step in your business journey. If you enjoyed the show, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and share this episode with a fellow solopreneur. Your feedback means the world to me and helps us reach more people just like you. Let's thank our producers of the show, Sincere and Charlie Straughter, Rhea Cash and Theory Porter. So don't forget, for more tips, tools and resources, subscribe to the show. So just keep building, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.